The Everyt was the apex of 3 million years of evolution. It stood 1.4 meters at the shoulder, all muscle and coiled tension beneath a coat of bioluminescent scales that shifted from deep violet to arterial red when it was hunting. 6 limbs, 4 for movement, 2 ending in opposable dew claws capable of puncturing starship hull plating. Eyes that saw in 17 spectral bands. A nervous system so finely tuned that it could detect the pressure change of a heartbeat from 40 meters away. The xenobiologists who had cataloged it called it Felis mortis primus. The crew of the Galactic Survey vessel Enduring Patience just called it the Cat. The Cat had been aboard for 11 days, having stowed away on Deck 4 during the last resupply at Feline Station. In those 11 days, it had killed 2 maintenance drones, eaten a protein fabricator, and reduced Commander Velash to a state of barely concealed existential dread every time she walked past Cargo Bay 7. It feared nothing. The universe had not yet produced a thing that merited the Cat's concern. Then the ship picked up a distress beacon, and Staff Engineer Priya Nair came back from her 2-week emergency leave on Callisto Station. Priya had spent 14 days dealing with a burst water main in her mother's apartment, a customs dispute over 3 crates of machine components she'd shipped from the outer belt, and a viral infection that left her voice sounding like gravel in a tumble dryer. She boarded the Enduring Patience with a kit bag over one shoulder, a thermos of actual ground coffee, the real kind, not synthesized, and a look on her face that communicated, without any ambiguity, that she was not in the mood. The briefing from Commander Velash took 4 minutes. An apex predator. From the Threnes catalogs. It has claimed Deck 4. Priya sipped her coffee. Has anyone been hurt? Not personnel, but the drones. So it's not aggressive toward crew. It destroyed a fabricator. Probably hungry. Priya set her thermos on Velash's desk, pulled up the xenobiology file on her tablet, and read for 2 minutes in silence. Okay, I'll sort it out. Velash stared at her. Engineer Nair. This creature has a bite force of approximately 9,000 newtons, and I read the file. Priya picked up her thermos. I'll sort it out. The Cat heard her coming from 6 corridors away. Different. The footfall pattern was different. Unhurried in a way that was distinct from the careful, suppressed fear gait of the other crew members who occasionally crept past Cargo Bay 7 and then walked very fast afterward. This one moved at a consistent pace. No elevation in heart rate. No spike in the biochemical stress markers that the Cat had learned to read as easily as a hunter reads wind direction. It positioned itself at the center of the cargo bay, between 2 stacked equipment crates, and waited. The door opened. The human female walked in, looked directly at the Cat, and said, "Hello. You must be starving." She sat down on a crate approximately 4 meters away, opened a container, and began eating something that smelled. The Cat's olfactory system processed this with profound interest, absolutely extraordinary. Proteins, complex lipid chains, something fermented and sharp. She ate with complete attention to her food, not watching the Cat, not performing the careful non-eye contact that the other crew used and which the Cat understood perfectly well was still a form of watching. This human was genuinely not focused on it. The Cat found this offensive. It moved closer, deliberately, placing each of its 6 feet to maximize acoustic impact on the metal floor. The human looked up. "Oh, you're curious. Good." She held out a piece of whatever she was eating. "Don't know if this is compatible with your biology. Probably not. But it's a start." The Cat stopped. It had expected threat displays. It had expected the chemical flood of fear. It had, at minimum, expected the human to fall off the crate. She was holding out food and waiting with the patience of someone who had done this kind of thing before. Priya had grown up in Chennai with 6 cats, 2 dogs, 1 grandmother who claimed to hate animals and secretly fed all of them from her own plate, and a father who brought home injured birds and small mammals with a frequency that suggested he was either extraordinarily unlucky or was actively seeking them out. She had learned before she could read that the way to a frightened animal's trust was stillness, consistency, and food. She had also learned that apex predators, the ones who had never been prey, had a specific problem with humans. They did not know what to do with something that refused to behave like prey. She sat in Cargo Bay 7 for 40 minutes. She finished her lunch. She read engineering reports on her tablet. At the 20-minute mark, the Cat had moved to within 2 meters of her. At 30 minutes, it was close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from its body. At 40 minutes, it put one of its secondary limbs on her knee, testing weight, clearly expecting her to flinch. She turned a page on her tablet. The cat made a sound. Low, subsonic, felt more in the chest than heard. Not a threat vocalization. The xenobiology file had those cataloged. Something different. Something that might, in a terrestrial animal, have been called uncertain. I know, Priya said. It's a lot. Being somewhere new. Over the following days, the crew of the Enduring Patience observed a series of events that none of them could adequately explain. The cat began sleeping outside the door of Engineer Nair's quarters. The cat followed Engineer Nair to the maintenance corridors on Deck 3, where she was running new conduit for the secondary power relay, and watched her work with an intensity usually reserved for prey animals who had not yet realized they were being hunted. The cat allowed Engineer Nair to scan its secondary limb, which it had apparently injured during the fabricator incident, with a medical wand. It held still for this. It did not remove anyone's hand. On the 6th day after Priya's return, Commander Velash walked past Cargo Bay 7 and found Engineer Nair sitting on the floor with her back against a crate and the cat. All 340 kilograms of interstellar apex predator, draped across her lap in a configuration that defied physics, comfort, and prior xenobiological understanding. Priya was reading a report. The cat was asleep, producing a deep rhythmic vibration that was shaking the deck plating slightly. Velash stood in the doorway for a long moment. It's purring, she said. Priya didn't look up. Been doing it for about an hour. Can you send technician or down? I need the secondary coupling specs, and I can't really move right now. You can't move. I don't want to wake it up. Priya finally looked up, and her expression was completely sincere. It had a hard few weeks. Stowaway situations are stressful. Velash looked at the 340-kilogram killing machine vibrating contentedly across her engineer's lap. She looked at her engineer, who had her tablet propped on the cat's flank and was annotating power relay schematics. Nair, she said, this animal has killed 2 drones and it was scared and hungry. Would you like a formal report? I can have one ready by tomorrow if you can get me those specs. Velash left. She sent the specs. She did not ask for the formal report, because she was not certain she was ready to confront a document in which Engineer Nair made a bureaucratically coherent argument for why an apex predator's rampage was actually a reasonable response to situational stress. The xenobiology team updated the Felis Mortis Primus file at the end of the voyage. In the behavioral notes section, under the heading Social Capacity, someone had written, Subject demonstrates previously uncatalogued affiliative behaviors when in proximity to human engineer P. Nair. Purring confirmed. Physical contact tolerated and apparently sought. Eye contact solicitation observed on multiple occasions. Subject has not destroyed any equipment in 16 days. Below that, in different handwriting, subject has been observed carrying a small metal tool component to Engineer Nair's workstation and leaving it there. Possible gifting behavior. See attached footage. And below that, in handwriting that the crew would later identify as belonging to Engineer Nair herself. Her name is Sundari. Please update your records. 3 million years of evolution. 17 spectral bands. 9,000 newtons of bite force. None of it had prepared the cat for a human who sat down, opened her lunch, and simply waited. The universe was very large, and it still had things to teach even the finest predators in it. Sundari knew this now. She had learned it from an engineer from Chennai who moved through the world like she had somewhere to be and had never, not once, looked at a living creature and seen something that needed to be feared.